Yeah, recording in progress. Got it. Okay, everyone's there with us. We have a book. I just found it. So let's offer some pranams to Srila Prabhupada first before we begin. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vastai Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachaline Nivasesha Sunyavadi Pashtatara Satarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So let's just, what I'll do is I'll just read the verse again so we can know where we are and what context we're reading. So this is verse 3. Utsaham nishtayat dayat tat tat kama pavadanat sangat jagat tato vritte sattve bhakti prasidyati. There are 6 principles favorable for the execution of pure devotional service. 1, being enthusiastic. 2, endeavoring with confidence. 3, being patient. 4, acting according to regular principles such as Sravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, hearing, chanting, and remembering Krishna. 5, abandoning the association of non-devotees. And 6, following the footsteps of the previous acharyas. These 6 principles undoubtedly assure the complete success of pure devotional service. So Rupa Goswami has given us very succinct, wonderful instructions here of how we could perfect our devotional service. And we're reading from, just scrolling down again. These activities must be executed with patience. Nishtayat. So let's have anyone like to read? Can raise your hand. Raise the hand first.
Quickly, where we are. Oh, I'm here.
Yeah, welcome.
Yes. Sorry.
Verse 3.
Uh-huh.
And we're on speaking about patience. So the paragraph begins, these activities must be executed with patience.
Got it. Got it.
Okay. Anyone like to read?
I can read, I suppose.
Okay, go ahead.
These activities must be executed with patience. One should not be impatient in Krishna consciousness. Indeed, this Krishna conscious movement was started single-handedly, and in the beginning there was no response. But because we continued to execute our devotional activities with patience, people gradually began to understand the importance of this movement, and now they are eagerly participating. One should not be impatient in discharging devotional service, but should take instructions from the spiritual master and execute them with patience, depending on the mercy of Guru and Krishna. The successful execution of Krishna consciousness activities requires both patience and confidence. A newly married girl naturally expects offsprings from her husband, but she cannot expect to have them immediately after marriage. Of course, as soon as she is married, she can attempt to get a child, but she must surrender to her husband, confident that her child will develop and be born in due time. Similarly, in devotional service, surrender means that one has to become confident. The devotee sings Avashya Raksheshi, oh, Krishna, that's the bhajan, yes. Krishna will surely protect me and give me help for the successful execution of devotional service.
Perhaps we'll just pause there because the next paragraph is on a different subject, enthusiasm. So any reflections on this about being patient in spiritual life? What are we being patient for?
To develop Krishna prema.
To develop love of Krishna, yeah.
Krishna, but we have to be patient, but it's not there because we're not patient. We want it now. I'm thinking something I heard. I'll tell you in a bit. Sorry.
It's interesting that Srila Prabhupada, yeah, that we understand. It seems to be what Sri Rupa Goswami is referring to. We have to be patient to achieve the goal. But Prabhupada also gives his own personal example in regards to the Krishna consciousness movement. I mean, it didn't happen overnight. You had to be patient. And then he says at the end, he avashya rakshibe Krishna. We should execute our endeavors with enthusiasm. That's next, or with confidence. At the same time, we are under Krishna's protection, so we're kind of dependent upon Krishna. And he made an example of a new married girl. She cannot immediately expect a new child. She has to wait some time. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes we approach spiritual life with a material understanding. And that, materially speaking, if you do certain activities and you work hard at it, then you may get the result. But we cannot. But with Krishna consciousness, it's not so mechanical like that. We have to make endeavors, but we're dependent upon Krishna's sweet will. So perfection doesn't come overnight. Yeah. Anyway, anyone else on this? Anyone having?
Prabhu, this is applicable for anything. I mean, for example, children going to school, they have to study the whole year to give their exam. So it's patience, enthusiasm, endeavor, everything rolled into one. So it's very synonymous, although I'm putting it in a very now way. But patience is the only thing that will, patience and guidance of the senior people and the gurus.
It's a very good point. I mean, how many times did our parents tell us to be patient?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a principle that applies to spiritual life as well.
But the difference is with the mundane thing, you get the results, you give your exams and you get the result. Whereas with devotional service, you start to experience something different within yourself, how we deal with people, how we deal with others, how we take our chanting. So that's a combination of patience and endeavor.
Yeah, very much. Yeah. So yeah.
That's my take on it.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Read a bit more. Well, Chandravali, you can continue reading. You just read the one paragraph there. You can.
Okay.
A couple more, perhaps.
We'll stop then. Okay. This is called confidence. As already explained, one should not be idle, but should be very enthusiastic about executing the regulative principles. Tat karma pravartana. Neglect of the regulative principle will destroy devotional service. In this Krishna conscious movement, there are 4 basic regulative principles: forbidding illicit sex, meat eating, gambling, and intoxication. A devotee must be very enthusiastic about following these principles. If he becomes slack in following any of them, his progress will certainly be checked. Srila Rupa Goswami therefore recommends tat karma pravartanat. One must strictly follow the regular principle of Vaidhi Bhakti. In addition to these 4 prohibition, yama, there are positive regulative principles, niyama, such as the daily chanting of 16 rounds on Japamala beads. These regulative activities must be faithfully performed with enthusiasm. This is called tat karma pravartana, or varied engagement in devotional service. Read more?
Yeah, I think just reminds me what Savannah Radhika was saying. I think she's just, Prabhupada's speaking about here about the general practices of a devotee. So another very important principle is to be enthusiastic about the virtues and the principles that we follow. In other words, we should follow them. Should be, otherwise if we become slack in following, then the progress will be checked. That kind of provide that one must strictly follow the regulative principles. So this has been, so that's Prabhupada describing that as being of being enthusiastic. Yeah. So that's good. Yeah, that you could say that expresses our enthusiasm for spiritual life. Yeah, we're very enthusiastic when you explain to someone about the lifestyle that we lead. I think they can only conclude that, oh, you must be really into what you're doing. Yeah, because we have certain virtues we live by. For instance, we don't take any meat, alcohol, drugs, etc. We don't engage in illicit activities. So that is a sign of enthusiasm. It means you're really into the lifestyle. You are really into Krishna consciousness. Yeah. And you're enthusiastic. And also we will become enthusiastic as well if we follow these principles. We will feel enthused about spiritual life naturally, but to that degree we don't, then our enthusiasm will wane. Yeah, to that degree we're not following the principles, then to that degree we will not feel very enthusiastic about chanting our rounds, about engaging in devotional service. Yeah, so they kind of both help each other. Yeah. There's not many. Perhaps you can read one more paragraph. In the meantime, devotees can put hands up if they like to read, and then perhaps read the next paragraph. Then Chandravali.
Okay. Come on, Suvana, you can read it. Okay, I'll do one. After that, somebody else can. Furthermore, in order to be successful in devotional service, one must give up the association of undesirable people. This includes karmis, gyanis, yogis, and other non-devotees. Once Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was asked by one of his householder devotees about the general principles of Vaishnavism, as well as the general routine activities of Vaishnava. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately replied, Asat Sanga Tyaga, Ye Vaishnav Achar. Characteristically, a Vaishnav is one who gives up the association of worldly people or non-devotees. Srila Narottam Das Thakur has therefore recommended Tandera Charane Seva Bhakti Sane Vasa. One has to live in the company of pure devotees and execute regulative principles laid down by the previous acharyas. The six Goswamis, namely Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatana Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, and Sri Raghunath Bhakta Goswami. If one lives in the association of devotees, there is little chance of associating with non-devotees. The International Society for Krishna Consciousness is opening many centers just to invite people to live in the company of devotees and practice the regulative principle of spiritual life.
Okay, let's suppose that. There's a couple of hands gone up. Is it Anna? No, is that a hand for a question or a hand for reading?
And for reading.
Okay, no problem. We'll keep that in mind. Let's see that there. Yeah, any reflections on this? There can often be a discussion on. It's not so easy for some. Depends on our situation. Some, I mean,
it's not easy, Prabhu, but if we keep, I'm talking from my own experience now, it's not easy, but if you follow these principles and keep association with the devotees, you will somehow or the other get you won't be as enthusiastic as before to have non-devotees as association. Families you cannot avoid, but the others naturally starts reducing. That's my own experience I'm talking about.
yeah, I think I mentioned. Yeah, that's. I think I mentioned that before as well. Is that it will become difficult to associate with in a same way that you used to associate with your old friends.
Yeah.
It just at some point you'll realize you like now have your differences, you know, and you have to go.
Don't have a lot of things in common as
have
before.
a lot of things in common.
Yeah, it happens.
It happens in almost an organically way or in a natural way.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so it's also at the end, interesting. Prabhupada says here, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness is opening many centers just to invite people to live in the company of devotees and practice the regulative principles of spiritual life. So it's changed a bit now.
Yes.
It's not most of our congregation or most devotees, then they do not live in a temple. No? It's only a small amount live in a temple. But the same principle still applies. It should be very important. And that's why temples are there. So we come and get together and we associate with each other. Like a lot of you coming to do service, so you're associating with the devotees, you know?
Plus, I think, Holy Prabhu, what happens is now devotees try and buy, like near manor, lots of them buy their houses near the manor. So then they like groups, communities, like living together,
Yeah.
you know?
I think, yeah, good point. I mentioned as well that when the shop used to have a notice board, I think I mentioned this before, and on the notice board just outside our shop, there's all these advertisements for persons looking to live with devotees.
Yes.
I know, there's like might be 40 of them. Every devotee knows that the best place they want to live is with devotees in the devotee shared house. You know, they all understand this principle of how much it can help their spiritual life and how much of something it can be just a mental strain sometimes. But as the Savannah Radhika has brought up, it may be unavoidable in a family situation. I think we described that many times. Yeah. Good day, Mata. You had a question there? No. You're ringing that, yeah.
She's ringing in, or she's...
Yeah. Yeah, but this is mentioned quite a lot in Prabhupada quotes from there was a question asked to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what's to be asked by a householder, what's the general principle of a Vaishnava? So Prabhupada said, that's at Sangha Chag e Vaishnava Chag. Yeah. One associates with devotees, one doesn't associate with non-devotees. So for some of us, it might be quite straightforward. For others, it might not be the same. But at least if we're living with non-devotees, it should be an atmosphere where at least they're sympathetic and they're allowing us to engage in our devotional activities. Yeah, that's what we want. If it's an atmosphere where we're not allowed or they're not sympathetic at all, and they're directly opposed to our practice of Krishna consciousness, then we might want to make plans to change that situation. And we might not be able to change that straight away. It might be like a 6-month or 1-year plan or 2-year plan to change our situation. If they're directly opposed, I mean directly and antagonistic and against our practice, then that could eventually cause us to become very despondent, you know. So again, it depends on your personal situation. But as much as possible, if not all the time, if not as much as possible, we should associate with the devotees. Okay, let's think. Anamavi, you have your hand for reading. You can continue.
Yeah, I'll read.
Yes, please.
Devotional service means transcendental activities. On the transcendental platform, there is no contamination by the 3 modes of material nature. This is called Visuddha Sattva, the platform of pure goodness, or goodness free from contamination by the qualities of passion and ignorance. In this Krishna consciousness movement, we require everyone to rise early in the morning by 4 o'clock and attend Mangala Arati, or morning worship, then read Srimad Bhagavatam, perform Kirtan, and so forth. Thus, we hold continuous activities in devotional service 24 hours daily. This is called Sattovritti, or following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas, who expertly filled every moment of time with Krishna conscious activities. If one strictly follows the advice given in this verse by Srila Rupa Goswami, namely being enthusiastic, being confident, being patient, giving up the association of unwanted persons, following the regulative principles, and remaining in the association of devotees, one is sure to advance in devotional service. In this regard, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur remarks that the cultivation of knowledge by philosophical speculation, the collection of mundane opulence by the advancement of fruitive activities, and the desire for yoga siddhis, material perfections, are all contrary to the principles of devotional service. One has to become thoroughly callous to such non-permanent activities and turn his intention instead to the regulative principles of devotional service. According to the Bhagavad Gita 2:69, Yanisya sarvabhutanam tasyam jagarti samyami yasyam jagrati bhutani sanisha pasyato muneha. What is night for all beings is the time of awakening for the self-controlled, and the time of awakening for all beings is night for the introspective sage.
Okay, thank you. So just pause there.
Okay.
Any I think Prabhupada's given a summary here, but any specific reflections on this?
I was thinking how Prabhupada is like, what is night for all being? Like, explain how the devotees are different to karmis,
Yeah, it's what he's explaining is that when we take up devotional service, to take it up earnestly, that means our lifestyle is going to change dramatically. Yeah, it is. We will not have, I think as we mentioned earlier, we will not have much in common with gross materialistic persons. Yeah, so it's not just like a thing of coming to the temple once a week, and then you engage in normal activities associating with, closely with persons who are atheistic or even demonic, or no, our whole life we have to associate with devotees as much as he gives. And then he re-emphasized, we have to be enthusiastic. So it's enthusiastic about the principles and the general duties of Krishna. Confident. Did we describe that yet? Confident. We speak about that. Being confident in attaining the goal. And being confident and being patient. These two things turns out. We have to have both. We have to be confident in achieving success, at the same time be patient. And giving up the association of unwanted persons and following regulative principles in the association of devotees. So that's the whole lifestyle. It's a whole lifestyle change. Now, persons may not be able to do that at once. So as we're preaching, we're going to be preaching to persons according to their level, So we're not going to, insist that they give up the association of all their friends if they're becoming interested in Krishna consciousness. As Savana Radhika mentioned, that will happen in its own natural way to one degree or another. One will find less in common because one's whole lifestyle is changing. You don't drink alcohol anymore. You don't go to mundane movies anymore. I shouldn't do it. So you'll find that's what, I'm just reflecting back that's what I found. At some point it was so much more relishable and wonderful to associate with the devotees. Yeah. And that's what I think we're trying to achieve. I know we're doing this 108 preaching, this Western outreach. And that's the principle that Dave Rita Maharaj is basing it on, is to create an atmosphere where like Western people can come because they might not be so culturally attuned to a temple and everything that goes with it. So he creates these lounges and these places where Westerners can come. You can have prashadam, speak some aspect of, speak the give some presentation and meditation, things like that. But the main thing is they start to develop a friendship with the devotees. That's the main principle, to give them the association of the devotees, where they start to feel comfortable, start to feel like, and they start to like the association of devotees. Yeah, and then one thing leads to another. Yeah, where they feel a kinship and they like to associate with devotees. They feel they're being, they feel their life is being invigorated, and they feel happy in the association of devotees.
Isn't that how we all started, Prabhu? We all started that way with the association of devotees. Something triggered.
Yeah. That's how people. You could say that's perhaps one of the major factor why people take to Krishna consciousness is because of the devotees. Yeah. So we should keep that in mind and always try and be in the atmosphere should be very friendly and welcoming, especially to new people. So
I was
remember, Prabhu. Few years ago, quite a few years ago, like lunchtime program, and there always used to be the residents who would come and sit with new faces and talk, and that was just amazing because I did see quite a few people follow it up, not on a regular basis, but they knew just something to get them interested. That was one of the nicest things that I found. This was, you remember it used to happen during lunchtime programs.
Yeah. And good news in that respect. I just got
the Sunday program.
Yeah, Sunday program in the compact. So we're trying to, and we're doing we got one Bhagavad Gita class a week. So we're trying to revamp the preaching from the temple side as well, to do exactly that. Because there will, some persons we can direct to our 108 Western preaching. Some people are going to come into the temple anyway.
Yeah.
So the devotees should be there to give them their association. Actually, there's every day in Oxford Street, there's 500,000 people.
Yeah.
So there's a percentage of them are just going to obviously come into the temple. But the most important, but it's a shame they come into the temple and there's just deities. There should be devotees there as well.
Yes, even lunchtime, there used to be somebody or the other coming straight from Harinam and doing the noon arti. And it doesn't happen anymore. It's always the guests. I mean, it's all very well to have 108 and have all these things, but people do come to the temple and it's not attracting enough people now.
Yeah, and that's, we are trying to work on that. Yeah, I agree with you completely. Yeah, the temple is also a place to attract people.
Yeah.
And some people will come. And some people, once they come, we may direct them to our other preaching outlets.
Yes.
But the temple does play a very important role for giving people association.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. And I'm trying to do my little bit in order to revamp the preaching from the temple side. Let's see, people are still in COVID amnesia at the moment, I think.
Yes, they are.
So the traffic, even though the temple's open, the traffic coming in is not like it was.
No.
The reason might be because there's no lunch program. That's a consideration. But I think another consideration, if everyone's still in this COVID mode at the moment,
they are
so inclined to move about so much, come to the temple. They got kind of too much used to being online. So that's going to be a bit of a struggle to try and bring people back again to come into the temple in large numbers.
But it'll happen. The winter is almost, we hope it's coming to an end. It will happen.
Yeah. But anyway, I think the main point here is coming out is the association of devotees, or to be an association of devotees. We need the association of devotees, and the non-devotees need the association of devotees as well. We need association to continue with enthusiasm, and we should create avenues and places where people can associate with devotees. Anyway, and funny enough, you bring that up, Savannah, that's exactly the point we're trying to help with here. A temple also as a means of giving people Krishna consciousness. But those who cannot, for one reason or other, they find it difficult to relate, then we have another place they can go, you know, and they can, perhaps they might develop more quickly there, they might relate to it better. So
Absolutely, because that's another avenue outreach that we're doing. If you don't, I mean, they're attracted by the deities, no doubt about it. Some find it strange. However, they do have a good look at the deities, one way or the other. Especially seeing Jagannath Ji there. I mean, any stranger, what is that, you know? But they're attracted. The very fact that they ask questions, that means it will stay in their mind, and they will. And then if you guide them to 108 or other places, it's a starting point.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what this text is saying. Devotee association is, that's a breakthrough, basically.
Yeah, very good point.
It was today's internet was a problem. Today, no date.
Yes.
Not from our side.
No, it wasn't on today.
It was,
Oh, the temple.
yeah.
Yes, we couldn't get
Oh.
darshan or the class.
Yeah.
But we were forced. Well, I happened to log in at Radhadesh, and Namprabhu was giving the class.
It was yesterday. Oh, today also.
He gave today on the class that we learned 2-3-24 Srimad Bhagavatam.
Oh, what he gave online?
Yeah.
Not Radhadesh. He's at Radhadesh.
Oh, Nam Sankirtan.
Yeah, Nam
Yesterday
Sankirtan.
also.
Is it Radhadesh?
Yeah, he's at Radhadesh.
Wow.
Because
Very nice.
yes. So he gave a nice class on 2-3-24. Canto 2, chapter 3-24. Holy
Yeah.
name.
So, you know, if our internet's down, you got other places to go.
Yes.
You can skate somewhere else, and then when our internet's up, you can come back again.
Yesterday about Giri Govardhan.
Yeah, I have a question to ask you about that class, but anyway, I'll ask you in a bit. When you
Me? Okay. Okay, should we read a bit more?
Okay.
What time do we start? 30, isn't it? 4:30.
Yeah.
Okay, so where was we? Oh yeah, here. Engagement in devotional service. Let's have someone to read. So, okay, I shall read. Now, did you call on anyone got a hand up? Not for the moment. Okay. I can read. So engagement in devotional service to the Lord is the life and soul of the living entity. It is the desired goal and supreme perfection of human life. One has to become confident about this, and one who has to be confident, and one also has to be confident that all activities other than devotional service, such as mental speculation, fruitive work, or mystic endeavor, will never yield any enduring benefit. Complete confidence in the path of devotional service will enable one to attain his desired goal, but attempting to follow other paths will only succeed in making one restless. In the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated, one must be calmly convinced that those who have given up devotional service to engage in severe austerities for other purposes are not purified in their minds, despite their advanced austerities, because they have no information of the transcendental loving service of the Lord. It is further stated in the 10th canto, although mental speculators and fruitive actors may perform great austerities and penances, they still fall down because they do not have information about the lotus feet of the Lord. The devotees of the Lord, however, never fall down. In the Bhagavad Gita 9:31, the Supreme Personality of Godhead assures Arjuna, Kunteya Patijanahi Nami Bhakti Nanami Bhakta Pranashyati. O son of Kunti, declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. I'll just read this as well. Again in the Bhagavad Gita 2:40, Krishna says, Nehi pikramo nasosti pratyavayam vichitesum api apidamasya swapam api asyadamasya trayate mahato bayat. In this endeavor, there is no loss of diminution, and a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. Devotional service is so pure and perfect that once has excuse me, read that again. Devotional service is so pure and perfect that once has begun it, once one has begun it, one is forcibly dragged to ultimate success. Well, sometimes a person will give up his ordinary material engagements and out of sentiment take shelter at the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord and thus begin the preliminary execution of devotional service. Even if such an immature devotee falls down, there is no loss on his part. On the other hand, what is the gain of one who executes the prescribed duties according to his varna and ashram, but does not take to devotional service? Although a fallen devotee may take his next birth in a low family, his devotional service will nonetheless resume from where it left off. Devotional service is a hoitiki aparatihata, or hoitiki aparatihata. It is not the effect of mundane cause, nor can it be terminated by any mundane cause or permanently curtailed by material interruption. Therefore, a devotee should be confident about his engagement and should not be very interested in the activities of karmis, gyanis, and yogis. Okay, perhaps I'll pause there. Okay, so perhaps someone can reflect back what Prabhupada is saying here. Reflections on this.
I was thinking like before when Prabhupada was saying how with enthusiasm you should live with devotees and be patient, and he was explaining all that thing. And
Yeah.
then how he comes to the point that this is like eternal. You will not lose it even if you do it. You know how he's coming from one point to another.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's kind of telling you what to do, and then he's encouraging devotees that you won't lose anything, you know. Even if you don't finish your life, in next life, you will be able to continue.
Yeah.
You
So
know,
it goes Nehibikram Nasu.
following.
Yeah, there is no loss or diminution. Yeah. Yeah. And I was thinking, because he says the devotees of the Lord, however, never fall down. And I'm sure some of us were then thinking of devotees we know who are no longer practicing. Yeah. But then Prabhupada then kind of gives details of what he gives details of what he means here. That ultimately the devotees are always protected by Krishna. So in other words, their devotional service never gets taken away. They just continue. It may not be in this life, but in the next life, they will just take up from where they left off. Yeah. And that's why Prabhupada said, you got that part? Once it's begun, then there's no going back in that sense. One is forcibly dragged to ultimate success. Did you take note of that? Forcibly dragged to ultimate success.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Just by taking up the path of devotional service.
Yeah.
I think as Arjuna asked the question, what is the destination of someone who's gives up material life and doesn't perfect spiritual life? And then Krishna explains to him, therefore, yeah, not here, but it's just 240, it's another context. But then Krishna explains that different for one who is taken dead, then they would take birth in the family of devotees, in a pious family where they practice devotional service. And then Prabhupada gives, in a very humble way, then he gives himself as an example. Whereas after a long practice, you take birth in the family of transcendentalists. Such a birth, of course, is very rare. I think there, Prabhupada, in a humble way, says he was born in a family of devotees.
Yeah, yeah. He
So
says about
there's
spiritual
no
master.
loss or diminution. Yeah, then he explains by associating with, by engaging mental speculation, fruitive work, or mystic endeavor, there will never be any enduring benefit. So we should have complete confidence in the path of devotional service. So Prabhupada is explaining, to complete confidence.
Yeah, I was thinking, Murli Prabhu, when one joins, then at that time when you read about like, oh, you have to give up unwanted association, friends, this and that, is quite like, I don't know whether I can do things like that, you know? And then because you surrender and you do have association of devotees, then everything else seems to fall in place. Yeah, like you yourself change.
Yeah.
It's just amazing, the process, when you really think about the process.
Yeah. So someone's one second. Sorry, there's someone's tuning into Nectar Devotion. It's Nectar of Instruction
So Damani.
in the chat. Yeah, if you can hear Sudhamani Radhikam, Mother, we're on Nectar of Instruction, not Nectar of Devotion.
Sorry, Prabhu, which text and which
Free.
text?
We're on text free, yeah.
Right at the end.
Right at the end. Okay, thank you.
Oh yeah, well, I didn't see it right at the end. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, let's have someone else read. Anyone out there can read.
I can read, Prabhu, but
Yeah,
you have
go
to
ahead.
tell me where, once again, where devotional service is so pure and perfect from there.
Yes.
Next one.
Yes.
Oh, really? Yeah, next one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we finished that
certainly-
yogi.
There
There
are
was certainly.
Okay,
yeah.
great, great. Thank you. So can I read?
Yes, please. You can, yeah, finish this.
Yeah. There are certainly many qualities among fruitive actors, philosophical speculators, and mystic yogis, but all good qualities automatically develop in the character of a devotee. No extraneous endeavor is needed. As confirmed by Srimad Bhagavatam 5.18.12, all the good qualities of the demigods manifest progressively in one who has developed pure devotional service, because a devotee is not interested in any material activity. He does not become materially contaminated. He is immediately situated on the platform of transcendental life. However, one who engages in mundane activities, be so he so-called jnani, yogi, karmi, philanthropist, nationalist, or whatever, cannot attain the higher stage of Mahatma. He remains a duratma, a cripple-minded person. According to Bhagavad Gita 9.13, Mahatmanastu mam partha devim prakritim asrita bhajanti ananyo manaso
Yeah.
gyava bhutadim avavyam. O son of Pratap, those who have not deluded,
Those who are not deluded.
O son of Pratap, those who are not deluded, the great souls are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. Since all the devotees of the Lord are under the protection of His supreme potency, they should not deviate from the path of devotional service and take to the path of the karmi, jnani, or yogi. This is called Utsaha Nishchaya Dairya Tat Karma Pravartanat. Enthusiastically executing the regulative activities of devotional service with patience and confidence. In this way, one can advance in devotional service without hindrance. Jai.
Okay, thank you. All right, so Yashastik Bhakti Bhagavati Kinchanaya. That's the verse Prabhupada is quoting from the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, often quoted by Prabhupada. Any reflections or questions about this? When only devotees can have good qualities.
It's interesting that they said that the devotees are even higher than the demigods.
Yeah. Yeah. The demigods are aspiring to take up to be, because they're kind of, they are devotees, but they're known as mixed devotees. So they're, in that sense, devotees are completely have no free of material desire, engaged in devotional service to the Lord.
The demigods obviously have more power and more subtleties, are more evolved. They're more evolved than devotees in one sense.
Yeah, you could say that. Yeah. But actually devotees, those devotees are considered to be higher. So this obviously means 100% devotees.
Because demigods have got so much opulence, they live so opulently, they're not so surrendered.
Yeah, so wait, we can just ask that question. Yeah, so why? Why are devotees considered higher than demigods? So Chandravali just brought up, that's one reason. I brought up that they may be, I mean, they are devotees themselves. What does it say there about them? All the good qualities of the demigods progressively become manifest in one who has developed pure devotional service. Yeah. So Prabhupada says here, there are many good qualities among the fruitive actors and philosophical speculators and mystic yogis, but they will automatically develop in the character of a devotee. Then I just went, if you go, I just go into the verse that Prabhupada quotes, Yashasti Bhakti Bhagavati Kinchinai, and I'll just read the whole verse. All the demigods and their exalted qualities such as religion, knowledge and renunciation become manifest in the body of one who has developed unalloyed devotion for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva. On the other hand, a person devoid of devotional service and engaged in material activities has no good qualities. Even if he is adept at the practice of mystic yoga or the honest endeavor of maintaining his family and relatives, he must be driven by his own mental speculations, must engage in the service of the Lord's external energy. How can there be any good qualities in such a man? Yeah. That's why I was interested how Prabhupada here, he explains that there may be good qualities here. There are certainly many good qualities among fruitive actors, philosophical speculators, and mystic yogis. So he's been a bit more charitable here, because in the verse that he quotes, it says they do not have any good qualities. Did you? Yeah, in the verse, let me just, yeah. But here he's saying that they may have some good qualities, but in the verse itself, even if it's depth of the practice of mystic yoga, etc., or the honest endeavor of maintaining one's family members, he must be driven by his own mental speculations. How can there be any good qualities in such a man? Yeah. You follow the kind of differences what Prabhupada is saying here? So, because even if there is good qualities in a non-devotee, that good quality may be manifest temporarily by the mode of goodness, which they may accidentally bump into. Their lifestyle may be sattvic, so they may be somewhat regulated, they may be somewhat, polite, and they may be somewhat have good qualities, yeah? Maybe helpful to people, maybe charitable, but they're non-devotees. But here it's saying they have no good qualities. Because it's just because it's just manifest by the three modes of material nature. And it's always mixed as well. So someone may be very well situated in society, may kind of be well disposed and friendly, but they may be not the vegetarian, and they go for a dinner to the Aberdeen Steakhouse. So, and then when things may get difficult for them, you might find they might not, those good qualities may be difficult to actually maintain. If they lose their job, let's take graphic example, lose their job, they're going through a divorce, the children, don't really want to know them anymore, and all of a sudden then they start to, their so-called sattvic disposition will drastically change. Yeah, because it's just born of mental speculation, so to speak. But the the qualities of devotee that develops, that's a natural manifestation of the pure soul coming from the practice of Krishna consciousness. So that means, so ultimately, I think as Mahatma said, in one class he gave it a manner, that if you squeeze an orange, what actually comes out of it? Orange juice. So like when we get squeezed, hopefully what comes out is a devotee. But when a materialistic person gets, when it comes to the crunch, they can behave in any anyway, and then the real nature will come out. I think I heard the example where I tell this story quickly. There was one time this is in the Second World War, and there was, on all the U-boats which the British were sending were getting sunk, were being identified. And obviously they came to conclude that there was a spy within the mists who was giving away secret information. So I don't know how exact true the story is, but how I heard it, one of the officers had a quiet suspicion of another particular officer. He wasn't right up there in the ranks, but he had a somewhat of an intuitive suspicion. So this person he was suspicious about, he had his finger in the door one time, how I heard it. And then this officer slammed the door on his finger and he swore in German. As the story goes. So he was identified, and his true colors came out. So this is what in this verse that Prabhupada is referring to. Although he's quite charitable in the purport here, saying they may have some good qualities.
Prabhu, can I say something here? Because all these good qualities are for sense gratification rather than for the pleasure of Krishna. That's why those good qualities do not count for.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's a really valid point. Yes, very much so. So yeah, they have a sattvic disposition, so they can. So from that point of view, then they be better situated in life. It may not be. It's not really much to do with Krishna, or nothing to do with Krishna.
Yeah,
very good point.
I have a family member who is Swadhyay. That means that they really try to be really good, follow principles and things like that.
Yeah.
But when the difficulty came, like Suvarna is saying, when the difficulty came and then the divorce and this and that.
Yeah, as I was saying, yeah.
The old thing came out, all the good qualities went out of the way, out of the window, and
Yeah. They become desperate,
Yes.
And they can all, yeah. But devotee, ultimately, it should be that devotee, he will develop the natural qualities of the soul, which are the qualities of Krishna to a small degree,
Mm.
And then in the purport, the verse we're referring to, Prabhupada highlights Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, who then he speaks of the 26 good qualities of a Vaishnava. So these, shall I read through these?
Yes, please.
And then you can just keep in mind that these automatically develop within the body of devotee. But at the same time, it doesn't mean we just sit back and wait for them to kind of appear out of nowhere. We have to prime the pump. We have to learn how a devotee acts and how a devotee behaves and try and follow in a devotee's footsteps, and endeavor to develop them. But they will come naturally as we develop pure devotional service. Yeah, because pure devotional service means we're coming in intimate contact with Krishna.
Sorry, can I ask you, Prabhu, from where?
Yeah, please, yeah.
From where you're reading, Prabhu?
I'm reading from the verse Bhagavatam 5. Yeah. Was it 5? Canto 5, yeah. You'll see it. It's quoted there. I'm going back now. It's 5:18:12.
Yeah, okay. Thank
Chapter
you.
5.
Yeah, 18.
Canto 5, chapter 18, text 12.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu.
Okay, so 1, he is very kind to everyone. So just think of materialists who if they can maintain this type of character in difficult situations. Yeah, he is very kind to everyone. Like, you know, not going on now, but Prabhupada was put into difficult situations, wasn't he? Very trying situations, but he would exhibit these qualities all the time. Yeah, whereas a materialistic person is not always very kind. Anyway, let me read them. He does not make anyone his enemy. He is truthful. He is equal to everyone. No one can find any fault in him. He is magnanimous. He is mild. He is always clean. He is without possessions. He works for everyone's benefit. He is very peaceful. He is always surrendered to Krishna. He has no material desires. He is very meek. He is steady. He controls his senses. He does not eat more than required. He is not influenced by the law's illusory energy. He offers respects to everyone. He does not desire any respect for himself. He is very grave. He is merciful. He is friendly. He is poetic. He is expert. He is silent. Yeah. So these automatically manifest within the body of a devotee, yeah, by execution of pure devotional service. Right? Keep going back. Any further comments on that?
Prabhu,
Yeah, your voice is very faint.
I was what I thought was mode of goodness. So devotees always should be above mode of goodness, because devotee is always above mode of goodness, and so that's why we can be with these qualities. Because if you are only on goodness, so our level is much different than these good qualities, isn't it, Prabhu? That's why we have to always come out of goodness.
Yeah, well, perhaps the best place we want to start first is to come to the mode of goodness
Yes.
True.
and and be strongly situated in that mode in a very, and then perhaps we can start thinking about Sudasattva. Yeah. So that's why it's discussed in detail in the Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah.
And it's considered the most important part of the Bhagavad Gita, actually.
Yeah.
That chapter.
Mm.
It's all about the three modes of material nature. So yeah, you're right. We should be in Sudasattva, but let's try and get to the mode of goodness first. Then perhaps
Prabhu, I
we-
just want to make one point.
Yeah.
Earlier on, talking about the non-devotees with all the opulence in it.
Yeah.
The reason they can't cope is because they do not. First of all, they do not believe in any higher authority. They think they're in control. They should be able to do
Yeah,
that, and
yeah.
that is where they go to pieces. Because as business people or a family run, I was doing everything right and everything good. But once the trouble starts, they just can't face it. It wasn't me. They have to believe, they don't believe in somebody higher, and we live by our karmas and things like that. That's why they show their true, I mean, they really do go to pieces. I've come across a lot of people who've really fallen down, I mean, financially, and they haven't been able to cope.
Yeah, yeah.
In a mundane way that they live, just hit the bottle. That's the solution.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, very good point. So that's why devotees, like, our saving grace is always Krishna, no matter what situation we're faced with. Krishna is
Yeah.
always there. That's why Prabhupada was quoting that, isn't it? Declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. So devotees take shelter of Krishna. So
We may shout out to Krishna, why is this happening? But we calm down and we say there must be something good. We try to reason it within ourselves.
yeah, yeah.
Isn't it? There's got to be a reason. Krishna is trying to tell us something.
Yeah, so I can imagine how much that helps. Can you imagine if someone doesn't have that place to go to,
Yeah.
then they can only, but the whole life can crumble, you know? They have no other, yeah.
I was thinking, Prabhu, even with this shelter, I'm talking about myself, even with the shelter we struggle. So what is the plight who doesn't have any shelter? So
Yeah. Yeah, so that is called, that's called the material world. That's what we see, you know? That's why we see so many horrific crimes, so many sad stories of suicide, so many mental problems, medication and confusion. That's what the material world's about, because people are not accepting, secular atheistic lives.
No.
All right, it's just hit. It's gone 5:32.
Okay.
Perhaps we'll stop there. So we finished text 3. So next week we begin text 4,
Yep.
which is nice verse. How to associate with devotees. Yeah. So we've established the association of devotees is very important. Then how do we interact with the devotees? And that we're hear about next week. Okay. So thank you everyone for joining us.
Prabhu, thank you.
Look forward to
Thank
tomorrow's
you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Bol, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
See you tomorrow.
Let's see.
More.
Yeah.
Thank you. Hare Bol.
Haribol.
You're right, everybody. Oh, Shadamani, you look like you are at the beach somewhere.
No, that's Vrindavan. That's Vrindavan.
Is that Vrindavan? Where are
Yeah.
we in Vrindavan?
It's
Where
Vrindavan.
are we in Vrindavan?
Look, it looks like she's sitting there.
Yeah, it looks like she's sitting there.
I was
isn't it?
thinking just now, is she on holiday or what?
It's the road steps of Vrindavan. You know the path that you go to Vrindavan? It's Vrindavan.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.